So you've discovered photography, and somewhere deep inside you're feeling a calling to pursue this at some professional level. But you've been watching videos from people like Scott over at Tin House Studios who are advising that it's not the best time to be starting a photography studio right now. And the political climate is iffy, to say the least. And then you see comments from other photographers on photography videos that are saying that you're better off to start a tire store than you are to start a photography business right now. And I kind of get where they're coming from, but when has it ever been easy to set up a creative business? Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I don't think I've done an introduction for a little while, so if you're new here, welcome along to Red in the Wolf Photography Studio. Now normally when I do videos like this, and I'm not quite sure what to call them, like, I don't know, advice column pieces? Anyway, normally when I try and put videos like this together, I try and weigh up things from both sides. Either people that I've talked with myself or stuff that I've seen in photography groups. And then I kind of balance them with my viewpoint from being mid-40s and looking at this kind of from a zoomed out perspective of what's happened in the past and then what it would look like if I was 80 and looking back on this. But today I wanted to do a little bit of extra research because I really genuinely want you to feel comfortable whether you choose to start a photography business or not. Especially when there's some people out there saying you're better off to start a tire shop than you are to start a photography business right now because it's kind of doomed to fail. Now before I start, I really want to articulate my stance, right? I'm not with the doomers. You know, like, it's all over, AI's killing the industry, why bother trying, kind of woe is me, right? So I'm not with those guys. But in saying that, I also don't want to sit on the toxic optimism side of things. So I'm also not going to sit here and go, it's all flowers and fairies and wonderful stuff and you just need to manifest the business of your dreams, right? I really want to sit somewhere in the middle, somewhere based in reality. So with all that said, I'm going to be breaking today's video into sections. And we're going to do the old, you know, do you want the good news first or the bad news kind of thing. But I want to present it in a way that, like I said, that you will feel confident in whichever decision that you make. And spoiler alert, I am pro starting a photography business in some form. And I guess that's my caveat, but we'll get to that as we go through the video. Because there's no point yelling like, the sky is falling, if I don't give you a sky falling proof umbrella, right? So this is how it's all going to pull together. I want to cover the reality of the creative landscape right now. Like, what's the ground that we're actually standing on? What's consumer spending like since COVID? Are people even starting businesses right now? How much impact is AI really going to have on our business models? Are people still spending money on luxury or value goods, which is exactly what photography is? Or are they only buying like $2 shop stuff? And you might disagree with me here, but I also think that we do need to touch on the political landscape right now. Because there's no point avoiding the elephant in the room because you can't make good decisions if you just ignore the big things that are happening. So I want to go into some censorship and some policy shifts that are happening and some new laws that are coming in that are catching up with technology and how we can make choices around our work that are flexible. Because we're kind of being shoved into a new era whether we want it or not. So let's jump in and I'll try and keep this as organized as possible. Right, so I want to start at the beginning spot. What is the ground we're actually standing on? So the comment that sparked today's video came from a photographer with 30 years experience. And I looked him up and I'm pretty sure that I found the right person because he has a really unusual name and he has some fantastic work. But this was the interaction and he was commenting on my how to start a photography business video. So he said, my best advice is to look for another business model. And I replied with, what kind of business model would you suggest? I'm always up for learning. Thinking that he meant like a different photography business model. And then he replied, if I had started a business selling car tires, I'd be a millionaire by now. A friend started the same time as me. I earned more at first, but in 5 years, he beat me by the mile. Now I think English isn't his first language, so we'll let him off with that one. So, car tires instead of photography, you mean? And he wrote back and said, photography isn't profitable and you're constantly on the lookout for clients. Not all photographers live in state capitals or large states like New York, California, or Miami, places with affluent economic status. Some people sell stories and dreams because that's their business, but the truth is photography isn't profitable. I tell young people to look for other careers. You might say you're the problem, but what a problem these days. Another photographer on LinkedIn was complaining about how bad things were going for him. That's my honest opinion based on 30 years of experience. And to back him up, I did see another video from Scott over at Tin House Studios, which I'll link in the description if you want to see what he was saying. But he also advised somebody young recently not to start a photography business, and then he gave a list of some really valid reasons why he believes this. So like I said, like, bad news first, but I wanted to give a grounding of where I'm starting. And I don't really want to write off other people's experiences because they're probably not exclusive to just them. But in saying that, I don't agree with them, but I'll get to that as we go through the video. Now, I did want to do a little bit extra research this week for this video, especially around people's spending habit for starters. I mean, if people aren't buying photography right now, then it would be irresponsible of me to even come online and tell you guys to go start a business. So I asked ChatGPT for some good reference points to get myself started. So I'm going to share some of the stuff that I learned, and I'm going to link them in the description in case you guys want to go and read the full articles. Now, the first one, the LSEG, or however you say it, the London Stock Exchange Group, came out with a post on August 25th of this year, and just in case you're watching from the future, this is the year 2025. And here's a few snippets that I wanted to highlight. In response, consumers have been adjusting their spending habits. Our same-store sales data shows premium brands outperforming, while retailers serving middle and lower-income consumers are seeing more muted results. For instance, Ralph Lauren has consistently delivered robust growth well above the benchmark over the past 2 years, underscoring how luxury, innovation, and brand strength continue to resonate with high-end consumers. In contrast, mass-market retailers such as Macy's, Target, and Dollar General have underperformed, reflecting ongoing consumer caution and a shift towards value among lower-income segments. So I really wanted to point out that luxury goods are still doing really well, like in the expensive end of things, but that lower-income segments are going towards value, and this is really important in today's video. This underscores a broader shift in consumer priorities. Value has become a central driver of purchasing behavior. As a result, value-oriented retailers continue to gain traction. Now, if you've been around the photography scene on YouTube for a while, you've probably heard of a channel called Adorama, and they brought out a really insightful post in March of this year, State of the Industry, the ever-evolving world of wedding photography. The wedding photography industry has always been shaped by trends, technology, and cultural shifts, but nothing quite compares to the upheaval brought on by COVID-19. When the world shut down in March 2020, weddings were postponed, downsized, or completely reimagined, forcing photographers to adapt in real time. Micro weddings and elopements became the norm, candid moments mattered more than ever, and businesses had to adapt fast. Even now, the industry is still feeling the ripple effects. Client expectations have changed, storytelling has evolved, and wedding photographers are redefining their roles in a post-pandemic world. If you're a wedding photographer who managed to keep your business afloat through the chaos of COVID, you know it wasn't easy. However, according to the State of the Photography Industry report, which surveyed over 7,600 photographers across 100 countries, both full-time and part-time self-employed wedding photographers ranked among the highest earners in 2023. Inflation has been a factor in recent years, but the demand for wedding photography today hasn't disappeared, it has simply evolved. It goes on in the article to say that wedding photography is still really important to most couples, albeit that trends are changing in the way that that's executed. Now, I don't just want to sit on wedding photography, but if I delved into every niche, we would be here all day. The point I'm making is that there are shifts in consumer behavior and new trends being birthed post-COVID. And understanding that the market that you want to go into actually might give you an edge over maybe even established photographers that are kind of stuck in their ways. I dare to say that the photographers that are going out of business or going under are still working to a business model that worked 10 years ago. And to give them the benefit of the doubt, they've probably been working double as hard as COVID to try and catch up and keep up, and they probably haven't even had the time to surface long enough to work on their business rather than in their business. So while I don't want to discount what people with 30 years experience in the industry have to say, especially compared to my measly part-time last couple of years, but when you look at the big picture and the global economy and the industry trends, photography is evolving, not disappearing. And to reinforce the quote at the bottom of this last post that I was reading, wedding and portrait photographer Elizabeth Messina said of her own business, she began focusing more on portraiture, boudoir, maternity, newborn, and divorce. It was a natural evolution, she explains. Plus, a serious leg injury forced her to work more in the studio, which led her to showcase different types of work she was passionate about on Instagram. Over time, this shift helped her diversify, launch an education platform, and expand her business overall. While she still takes on wedding jobs, her overall focus has evolved. One of the powerful aspects of being a self-employed photographer is the ability to redefine your artistic path as you grow. All of this to say that even the Great Depression of the mid-1900s There were businesses that started and thrived from then. Just like during COVID, while yes, there were some businesses that went under, there were also a lot of other businesses that were being birthed and have thrived since then. And let's be honest, that while we might be in a bit of a recession, we're not in a depression. Like, I have a jar of my grand's buttons. It's about this big. It's a Tupperware container of buttons that has been saved since goodness only knows when, because she was a child of the Depression and they got rid of nothing. And I think that that's a great representation, because while we might be cutting back on the spending, we're certainly not at like Grand's button jar level depression. Like, we're not that bad yet. And I think that that's a great representation, because while spending might be lower, it hasn't stopped. We aren't collecting buttons just yet. I personally believe that the key takeaway here is adaptability. Unlike the Titanic, if you watch where you're going and you keep an eye on the charts, you have the ability to adapt and change your business. And like Elizabeth said in the article earlier, the industry has changed a lot in recent years. But one thing hasn't: adaptability. The photographers who keep growing, fine-tuning their style and balancing classic artistry with new technology are the ones who will succeed. Whether it's through storytelling, smart business moves, or embracing innovation, the future of wedding photography belongs to those who evolve with it. So the key takeaways here are that you should understand the market that you're going into, learn to be adaptable, consider a combination of looking at trends as well as providing a solid, timeless service, and be open to a more diverse business model. So perhaps for you, this looks like wedding and portraiture photography, while you're also running courses online or at your local community centre, or taking on like mentorship programs or something like that. I think the key in 2025 is not to get stuck trying to run your business like it's 2015. And just a quick last note here, another really great reference was the Global Wedding Report put together by The Knot, which has some fantastic insights if you're interested. And I'll make sure that I link that in the description below as well. Okay, so we've figured out that things are changing within the photography scene itself. But what are some of the global drivers that we might need to put into our calculations as well? Like the economy or technology, the social situation, and the political landscape. Well, regardless of your political leaning, there are some huge factors around the world that you need to take into consideration, or that perhaps even we just need to talk about so that you feel confident about where you're standing. So as we talked about before, we're not at like Grand's button jar level depression at the moment. There's uncertainty, but as I also mentioned before, people are looking for value. So a big part of what you need to understand is the value that your brand and your business brings. So here's an exercise to think about this. If you were gonna go down, like if you had to absolutely cut your budget, I can guarantee you that there would be one thing that you held on to. For me, it would be chocolate. But for you, maybe it's a glass of wine at the end of the night. Why? Because the value of that moment in time, of sitting down with your significant other, of having that glass of wine, relaxing at the end of the day while the kids are out playing and you're just chilling and the rest of the world is far away, that moment can give you a sense of safety, relaxation. You can take on the world from that point in time, right? So like in that moment, you could solve all of the world's problems because everything is right within your world with that glass of wine in your hand. And it's not just because it's a habit or because it's what everybody else does. There will be a subconscious level of value to you in that one thing that you keep. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep doing it. And you certainly wouldn't validate it if you were down to your last couple of dollars. And I can guarantee you, I can absolutely validate bars of chocolate, 100%. Anyway, maybe you're the opposite kind of person. Maybe the very last thing that you would ever give up is your gym membership, because that's who you are. You go to the gym every day, and then if you do that, again, you can take on the world. So by understanding the value, the true value of what you're providing to your clients, that'll help you better articulate it in your marketing and your branding and your general interactions and in any piece of photography that you choose to share. Now, I want to give a bit of a case in point here. Earlier this year, I decided to run some kids mini sessions, and I hadn't really done, I sort of did it a little bit before, but not to the extent that I was going to do it this time. So I planned it all out. I went and found a good location, did the whole thing, made up a really cute little ad, put it out to my friends and went, do you guys think that this ad's okay? And everyone was like, yeah, it's great to see you doing it, and blah, 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 right? And then I put the ad out to a couple of different places locally, up in like some of the local Facebook groups, and I got absolute crickets. In fact, the only shoot that I did was a free one that I gave away. Now contrast that to one of our other local photographers who is an established photographer here locally. She lives about 20 minutes out of Thames, but people will go to her. She ran mini sessions at the same time. Now, we do different types of mini sessions, so it wasn't like it was a clash or anything, but she did mini sessions and she is always booked out. So why did she get booked out and I got nothing? Like, was it because of the recession? Because no one's buying? No, it's because her audience already associates value with her. And I haven't built that level of trust yet, and I'm clearly not showing that level of value yet. So let's get it out of our head that people aren't buying photography right now, because they are. There are still photographers out there thriving. So I know that it's still possible. Okay, so moving on from that, next I want to talk about AI. Now I've done a whole video or two about this, so I will link them up if you are interested to go into those more. But for now, you're a visual storyteller. You are a service, not a product. AI can mimic style, but it can't mimic soul. Not to mention, as I've said before, AI can't go out and shoot your wedding, and it certainly can't make a 3-year-old that's really shy and hiding behind her mummy feel safe enough to come out and get those fabulous shots. Think of AI kind of like the new electricity rather than the apocalypse. It's changing like workflows and entry-level barriers, but it's not causing the end of creative work. The people that adapt for like editing or culling or marketing or automation kind of thing, they're gonna thrive in this fast-paced world. Not to mention that there's like laws and regulations and all sorts of stuff happening from a legal perspective right now, all around all this new technology, right? We're going through the birthing pains of AI right now, and it's really, really messy. But when we get through, things will calm down a little bit. And don't get me wrong, there will always be people who like circumvent things. I mean, does anybody else remember Napster? I think that people are gonna get AI fatigued very, very quickly. Like even now, unless I click on a video and it's got like a storyline and it's meant to be like a mini movie or something like that, if it's AI, I will generally click off. Like I'm already over it. I want to see a real person on the other end of the camera. Think of it kind of like trendy colors or trendy editing styles, right? Everybody sort of sees it for a couple of years and everybody's like, yeah, this is the new greatest thing. And then after a couple of years, you're like, oh my gosh, everybody is producing the exact same stuff, and can I please see something original? Like, just allow AI to go through its birthing pangs, and when we come out the other side, everything will normalize and it'll just go back to being another tool in our tool belt. Now let's look at it from a social perspective. Social media is not going away anytime soon. So if you're in like the business branding or product photography niche, for example, like we've had ads since the dawn of time. People have been telling us about the wares and the services that they're selling since forever. That's never going to stop. So that photography service is not going away. People are always going to want to be able to visually sell what they're selling. And while yes, some creators will turn to AI, there's still a massive amount that are going to be doing it the old-fashioned way of getting a camera and taking the photos. Now here's the thing, if we are entering a point where money is a little bit tighter for small businesses, think about the idea of teaching it instead of selling it. It's like the old adage, teach a man to fish, feed him, no. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Now think about it this way. If you get 20 people in a room, 20 local businesses, they're paying $50 each, and it's like a 3-week course kind of thing, right? 1 night a week. You get those guys down there, you start teaching them how to take photographs, better photographs of their business, of their product, everything like that. So for $50, they're learning how to do it themselves. If even a couple of those businesses succeed long term, start to get bigger, they're not going to want to keep doing that photography themselves. So guess what? You've already earned that trust that they're going to turn to you and go, hey, can you just come in and do it for me? Because when we start a business, unless you're in the photography business, right, you don't start it to become a photographer. You don't start it to become a social media manager. You don't start it to become an accountant. You start it because you love what you do. And you have to kind of take these other things on when you're getting started. So just because people have an iPhone in their pocket doesn't mean that they're going to be taking great photography, because we all know that a camera is only as good as the photographer that wields it. So when you're looking at this, think about adaptability. How could I do this differently? If people don't have as much money to spend, how can I get them to a point that they would have more money to spend, right? So, social media, visual platforms, they're only going to become more. People want to share more of their life, more of what they're selling. None of that is going away anytime soon. And lastly, the political landscape. Now, I am the kind of gal that likes to stick my head in the sand and just wait for the storm to pass. And I'm not even kidding. It's not that I don't see things. It's that I go, oh, that's too hard basket. I'm just gonna like look this other direction and just wait till that goes past. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And the political shite storm that we have happening globally right now is not something that we should be ignoring. There's a lot of fear, a lot of war, a lot of riots, a lot of really weird dystopian future kind of stuff happening right now. Right? Losing freedom of speech, not being allowed to pray silently. Like, at what point does thinking nice thoughts for somebody else become a crime? And for a lot of us, all of this stuff is really unsettling. And while I don't want to go too far into this because I'm not a political channel, I think that it has to be food for thought. I don't want to put you guys in a morally compromised situation where you throw yourself into this business, really, really fall in love with it, and then feel like you have to go against your moral compass at a later point in time. And I know that went from like normal to tinfoil hat like really quickly, but the speed at which things are changing right now, I think it's really silly if we don't look at these things. Like, I actually hate politics. I'm the kind of person that goes, this is fair and this isn't. And then it really upsets me when those two things don't fit together nicely, and politics is the complete opposite, right? And I'm not political. Like, I try and avoid it at all costs, but other people in my family are political, and then they will bring it to me and go, Mum or Trace, I really think that this is something that you should be taking into consideration. And they're doing it not because they want to put more stress on me, but because they love me and they think that it's something important. And I want to be that person for you. I think that it's irresponsible of me to just go, no, everything's fine, just go for it. You need to do some research and you need to make those decisions for yourself, so that when somebody asks you, why are you starting a photography business in this economy or with all this other stuff happening, you have yourself grounded in exactly what it is and the exact reasons that you want to do it, and that you've made that decision. Now, in saying all of this, I said I wasn't going to be chicken licking and just yell the sky is falling, so without giving you a sky falling proof umbrella. So let's reframe all of this and get to the good news side of this video, shall we? Look, the world is changing, that's a fact, but humans have always found a way to be creative and document and connect, even when everything felt uncertain. The great poets, the great writers, the great artists have existed in every time in human history, not just when we were up. A lot of them were there when things were down as well. The key isn't just pretending it's easy, it's choosing to build with intentionality and purpose. And like I said before, AI isn't the apocalypse, it's basically the new electricity. It's changing workflows and barriers to entry, but it's not the end of the creative work, right? People will eventually put it back in its rightful place once the novelty wears off. And also, all you have to do is look at the current landscape. Like, after years of perfectly curated Instagram feeds where everybody's life looks amazing, right now there's this massive push for authenticity, less editing, less lighting, less all the professional level stuff happening. And while I think it's a good idea to keep an eye on everything that's happening, I also think that it's really irresponsible if all we do is look at all the stuff that we're worried about, when we could be focusing on, how do I make a better business? How do I serve people better? How can I focus on what I have control over rather than what I don't have control over? Not to mention this like ultra buzz that everybody's on at the moment about like sustainability and eco-friendly and buying locally and all the rest of it. So I think the pendulum's kind of starting to swing back the other way already. And lastly, while I think that all of this crazy global instability that's happening right now does cause concern, not just for us but for potential clients, creativity doesn't just vanish during these times, like, it adapts. The creative industries will always evolve. They'll never just disappear. Now, I don't want to completely dismiss the people that are saying that it's not a good idea to start a photography or creative business right now. And it's true, if you're looking to do this purely for money, this is not the area that you should be in unless you are passionate about it. But for those of us with a passion, I think it's worth noting that photography is in a season of change. It's not dying. So what can we do? We can change and adapt with it. It's fine. And I definitely think that photographers that have like layered or some sort of hybrid photography businesses, they're the ones that are going to be able to move forward. They're going to be the ones that their business is far more resilient in this changing landscape. So what does that look like for you though? Okay, well, let's just take a look at the wedding photography niche, because I know I kind of bang on about it, but let's just start there. Right, so you love weddings, right? Weddings, elopements, and engagement sessions. And there's even a new trend at the moment where apparently there's a lot more people paying to have the moment of the engagement happening. So that's a trend that you could hop on. And you could also realize that there's a subset of those people that you could sell prints to, or wedding albums, for example. It's kind of the like, would you like fries with that moment of your business? And maybe you could also create a package for like wedding anniversaries, like mum and dad's wedding anniversary coming up. They've been together for 20 years and they've got like every crockery pot and every photo of every grandchild. You know, what could we possibly give them? Why not offer that service? What a lovely idea, a photography session just for the two of them. Or you could offer to touch up old wedding photos, or scan in a family's photos of a wedding that happened like in 1980 or something, back in the dark ages when we used to use only film. But then you could make it into a book, and then you could print out 10 books, so you've got one for each child and one for each grandkid, and then nobody complains that they don't have photos of Granny and Papa's wedding, for example. You could also do things like editing for other photographers. Like if you have some downtime and somebody else has too much, you could do editing for them. And since you love all things wedding and love, why not start a podcast? You could put it up on YouTube and some other platforms. You could earn some AdSense, you could get some brand deals. Like that's a whole nother revenue model that you could be doing on the side. So instead of just like random social media posts, you can do something that's going to be searchable long term and get out of that daily grind of being on like TikTok or Instagram or something like that. You could also start an Etsy shop where you sell printables for weddings, like invitations or place cards or save the date or anything like that. Downloads for the bride of everything that you need to tick off before the big day. Like there's nothing stopping you from throwing a couple of those up online as well. And the beauty of doing like PDF digital downloads or Canva templates is that if you wanted to, you could sweeten the deal for your bride and just slip them in as part of your package. And because you love weddings, you're probably friends or associates anyway with a lot of the florists and the vendors, for instance. And when you want to do some extra shots to really up-level your portfolio, you could also take extra shots there and take some specifically to put up on the stock photography sites, for example. So you could take some photos and some footage, and you don't even have to do it at the time, but you could upload those during your down season. And maybe you have a part-time accounting business that you do like 10 hours a week where you do accounting for other photographers that don't have that skill, just to keep a bit of extra cash flow coming in so that you don't have to stress if you don't have something booked that week. And you could offer online mentorship for other people coming into the photography niche who want to learn more about editing styles or your workflow or your accounting services that are specifically for photographers and other creatives. So you can sell like half-hour or hour-long blocks on Zoom. Now that might sound like a lot, and look, that is. I'm not saying that you should do every single one of these things. What I am saying though is that when you start layering in your business, you're going to proof yourself against one part of that falling out. And it's also about layering everything that you're already doing so that none of your time goes to waste. And in different seasons of like your professional progression, you can do different things. You can offer different services. Maybe you're not confident to go and teach somebody else, but anybody can scan in photos and create a wedding album. Basically, it's about diversifying what you're able to do rather than getting stuck in what people were doing 10 years ago. Okay, so let's move on. What about branding photography? Right, so let's go down some of these same rabbit holes, right? Teaching, blogging, podcasting, one-on-one Zoom calls, taking extra photos to put them up on stock sites, for example. And being real, what about these small businesses that are struggling? They're just starting out, or maybe they have been feeling the hit from COVID and they're still not quite recovered. How do you get those guys to buy your services? Okay, well, what about restructuring your pricing? What about something like this? Offer people a monthly subscription. Maybe that's $100 a month. And during that year, they get 2 free 2-hour sessions. And then each month, you send them 10 photos. So by the end of the year, they've paid you $1,200 and they've received 120 photos. So basically, you would go in for your 2-hour session, edit all the photos, and then pop them in folders ready to send off during the year. And maybe that sounds like a lot of work, but think about it this way as well. Then the business owner doesn't get overwhelmed either. And for example, you might throw in, okay, here's your 10 photos for the month. Here's what I recommend you do with them. You might have a template set up, for example, for social media posts that might go with some of the photos that you've taken. And you could do this as something that you do it once and you can send it out to every client. So that if they don't know what to do with the photos, if they're not sure what kind of topics to talk about, that you've actually just taken that time to give them a little bit of a hint. And here's the cool thing. You stay top of mind with your clients because on the first of every month, they get those 10 photos from you. And you get to see them twice a year and build that relationship constantly. And this could be a recurring partnership. This might go on for year after year after year. So it's not like you do it once and then they don't call you for 5 years kind of thing, right? So you're making it easier for the owner, more affordable for the owner, and more enjoyable for the owner, which means that you're kind of going to get a raving fan out of it. And potentially years worth of working with the same client and recurring income guaranteed every month, right? So it's an excellent marketing and branding opportunity for you too, because every month you get to be in the inbox, and you could even put something in every email that's something like, if you refer a client and they book me for a year, then you get a free month or something like that. So then that kind of inspires them to want to share you and share your product and share your service a little bit further as well. Now you could be saying, Tracy, $100 a month, that's nothing. And you're right, it's barely scraping the barrel at the moment. But think about it this way. If I got one new client every single month, right? By the end of the year, I would have $1,200 coming in every month. Again, not really a big amount. But let's just quickly do the math on this. If you went into each of those businesses twice in a year for 2 hours, that's 48 hours in a year that you're there and photographing them. So if you did that monthly, like spread it out over the year, that's like doing 2 clients a month. So that's 4 hours a month that you're putting into it, plus a couple of hours editing. So let's say in 1 month, it might take you half a week to do those 2 clients and do all the editing and get that set up for them. Well, that's $1,200 for like 3 days work. And there's still another 3.5 weeks left in that month for you to service other clients. The point being is that if you just stepped out of the business model that you think that you should do and started looking at it from where everybody else is and get scrappy with it, you could come up with a completely new way of doing things that might work for you and work for your community. And if money's tight for you guys too, then again, get scrappy. Don't worry about hiring somewhere, like hiring a business premises to have your studio at. Like make it in the garage, make it in the spare room, or like we could do here in my small town, we can hire our local war memorial hall, which is in really good nick actually, for $20 an hour. So if I wanted to do kids mini sessions, like set up for Christmas or something like that, I could do it here at home, but I could also go and hire the hall for like 3 hours and then book everybody into that. That's like $60, and I might have 50 clients come through for argument's sake, you know? So don't think that you have to have a premises. You can meet potential clients either at your home or go out for coffee with them. You don't have to put down that long-term lease on some business premise that is going to make your overheads insane. So think smarter, not harder. And maybe you only photograph like 2 days a week. Maybe you work at another job 3 days a week. Like you can make it up as you go how you want to piecemeal this together. Like it's your business. You set the schedule and you don't have to be available 7 days a week. All of this to say that is why I don't believe that you shouldn't start a business. Just because some people are complaining that their businesses aren't going well. And I'm not saying it's isolated, right? But when you have proof of the other side that there are businesses that are doing well, I think it just points to the fact that for those of us that are passionate and willing to be a little bit scrappy, options are available. And that other local photographer that I mentioned earlier on the video, she lives about 20 minutes out of town in another small rural town that has 1,500 inhabitants. So where the original comment that I got was saying maybe you should just start a tire business because, oh, well, if you don't live in these big areas, then you can't have a successful business. This woman is showing the complete exact opposite. In a town of 1,500 people, she's thriving because her work is emotional, it's dreamy, it's gorgeous, and she's a genuinely nice person. Like I've actually met her in person. I haven't worked with her professionally, but I have met her in person, and every single person that I talk to about her absolutely raves about working with her. So it is possible. I will always come back to saying, when you're 80 and you're looking back, are you going to regret not trying? The world will always have reasons for you not to start. Now, by all means, and I will always say this, have part-time or other work if you need it. Like, I'm not going to advocate for you to be losing your house or not having food. Like, do all the things that you have to do. What I'm saying is that you can do this part-time and build up to doing it full-time, but don't let that scare you off. I'm always going to advocate for making smart decisions and being creative in your approach to everything, because I'm always going to advocate for the dream as well. It's up to us to decide if we're going to build something meaningful, even when the rest of the world says it's too risky. We are born to create, and it makes our soul happy when we do it. And that's my TED Talk for today. So back to your regularly scheduled programming, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Oh, and if you got this far, if you could like, subscribe, comment, any of that stuff for YouTube, that would be much appreciated. See you guys.